Today we're taking a look at 4 Washington quarters that many people have seen in everyday change, old collections, or forgotten coin jars. At first glance, they may seem like ordinary coins, but certain examples have attracted serious attention from collectors because of rare varieties, minting errors, and unique characteristics. In this video we'll explore the history behind these quarters, the details collectors search for, and the factors that can make some examples far more desirable than others. A few of these coins have even surprised the collecting community with their remarkable market value. One quarter later in this countdown has a particularly fascinating story, so make sure to stay until the end. Let's begin with the first coin on our list. At first glance, this 1965 Washington quarter looks like a coin most people would ignore. The example we're discussing shows obvious signs of circulation, including worn details, surface marks, and years of everyday use. To the average person, it's simply an old quarter that has done its job and survived decades of spending. But coin collectors know that some of the most interesting discoveries start with coins that appear completely ordinary. The year 1965 marked a major turning point in American coinage. Rising silver prices forced the United States Mint to make significant changes to how circulating coins were produced. Prior to this period, quarters were struck using a silver composition. Beginning in 1965, however, the Mint introduced a copper-nickel clad composition, creating a new chapter in U.S. coin history. Because of this transition, the 1965 Washington quarter remains an important date for collectors. It represents the first year of a major change that affected millions of coins entering circulation across the country. When these quarters were released, few people imagined they would someday become collectible. They were used in stores, restaurants, gas stations, and countless daily transactions. As a result, many surviving examples show heavy wear from decades of circulation. The obverse features the familiar portrait of George Washington, America's first president. His image had already appeared on quarters for decades and remains one of the most recognizable designs in U.S. coinage. On the reverse, collectors find the classic eagle design. The eagle stands with wings spread while holding arrows and olive branches, representing both strength and peace. For many collectors, this reverse design is one of the most iconic images ever used on an American quarter. One unusual feature of the 1965 quarter is the absence of a mint mark. During this period, mint marks were temporarily removed from circulating coins in an effort to discourage coin hoarding. As a result, all standard 1965 quarters were struck without the mint identification collectors typically expect to see. Condition is always important, and many surviving 1965 quarters show significant wear. The highest points of the design often appear smooth, and finer details may have faded after years of use. Yet experienced collectors understand that condition is only one part of the story. What truly attracts attention are unusual varieties and mint errors. Because 1965 was a transition year, collectors carefully examine these quarters for signs of doubled dies, die cracks, striking irregularities, off-center strikes, and other production anomalies. Even a small error can dramatically increase interest in a coin. Transitional errors are especially fascinating. Since the mint was changing from silver coinage to clad production, collectors closely study coins from this era for unusual examples connected to that historic shift. Such pieces can become highly desirable because they represent a unique moment in American minting history. Double design features are another area of interest. Collectors often inspect lettering, dates, and design elements under magnification, searching for signs of doubling that may distinguish a coin from ordinary examples. Die cracks also receive significant attention. These raised lines occur when a coin die begins to wear and crack after extensive use. While some are minor, others become dramatic enough to make a coin stand out immediately. Off-center strikes and clipped planchet errors are equally popular among collectors. These mistakes are often easy to identify and can transform a common quarter into a conversation piece that attracts strong demand. One reason coin collecting remains so exciting is that discoveries continue to happen today. People regularly search through inherited collections, old albums, estate sales, and forgotten coin jars hoping to uncover something unusual. Most coins prove to be common, but every now and then a remarkable find emerges. Imagine sorting through a collection that hasn't been opened for years. Among dozens of ordinary coins, one worn 1965 quarter catches your attention. A closer look reveals an unusual feature, a striking anomaly, or a rare variety. Suddenly, a coin worth just 25 cents becomes something far more interesting. Now let's talk about value. Most circulated 1965 Washington quarters remain common and generally carry only modest collector premiums. However, rare varieties, major mint errors, and exceptional examples can command dramatically higher prices. As collector demand increased over the years, certain 1965 quarters with important errors and scarce characteristics began attracting serious attention whenever they appeared on the market. Competitive bidding among advanced collectors has pushed some examples to astonishing levels. In fact, outstanding collector specimens associated with the 1965 Washington quarter have sold for more than $270,000, demonstrating how rarity, historical significance, and collector demand can completely transform the value of a coin. It's a remarkable reminder that appearances can be deceiving. What seems like an ordinary quarter today could hold a story that collectors find extremely valuable. And that's exactly why people continue searching through old change, coin collections, and forgotten drawers. Sometimes the next great discovery is hiding in plain sight. Now let's move on to the second coin. The next quarter on our list may appear ordinary, but it comes from a year that remains highly interesting to collectors. At first glance, this 1966 Washington quarter looks like countless others that spent years circulating through stores, businesses, and everyday transactions. Yet certain examples connected to this date have generated considerable attention within the coin collecting community. The coin we're examining is the 1966 Washington quarter without a mint mark. Like many surviving examples, this piece shows clear evidence of circulation. The design remains visible, but years of handling have left their mark on the surface. To most people, it's simply an old quarter. To collectors, however, it represents a fascinating period in American coin history. The year 1966 was a challenging time for the United States Mint. The nation was experiencing a coin shortage, and demand for circulating coinage remained extremely high. In response, the Mint increased production and implemented several temporary measures to help keep coins moving through the economy. One of the most notable decisions was the continued removal of mint marks from circulating coins. As a result, standard 1966 quarters do not display the mint identifiers that collectors typically expect to find. This policy was intended to discourage coin hoarding and encourage people to keep spending their coins rather than setting them aside. When these quarters first entered circulation, few people paid much attention to them. They were simply part of everyday commerce. Millions were produced and distributed across the country, passing through countless hands over the decades. The design remained unchanged from previous years. On the obverse appears the familiar portrait of George Washington, a design recognized by generations of Americans. His profile continues to be one of the most iconic images in U.S. coinage. The reverse features the classic eagle design, with a bird displayed above olive branches and arrows. This timeless artwork remained on Washington quarters for many decades and continues to be admired by collectors today. Many surviving 1966 quarters show signs of heavy circulation. The highest points of the design often display wear, and smaller details may appear softer than they did when the coin was first struck. These signs of use are completely normal for coins that spent years in active circulation. Yet condition alone doesn't determine collector interest. Many enthusiasts enjoy studying circulated coins because they provide a tangible connection to history. Every mark, scratch, and worn area reflects a journey through decades of everyday American life. Collectors closely examine 1966 quarters for unusual varieties and minting errors. Doubled dies remain among the most sought-after discoveries. These varieties occur when elements of the design appear doubled, creating noticeable differences that can significantly increase collector demand. Die cracks are another feature that attracts attention. As coin dies wear over time, cracks can develop and transfer onto coins as raised lines. Some are subtle, while others become dramatic enough to stand out immediately. Strike quality is also important. During periods of high production, some coins were struck with varying degrees of detail. Collectors often compare examples to identify unusual characteristics that separate certain pieces from standard issues. Off-center strikes continue to rank among the most visually impressive mint errors. These mistakes occur when a blank planchet is not properly aligned during the striking process, leaving part of the design missing from the finished coin. Clipped planchet errors are equally fascinating. These occur before striking when part of the coin blank is improperly cut, resulting in a distinctive missing section along the edge. The excitement of coin collecting comes from the possibility of discovering something unexpected. Every year, collectors search through old collections, estate sales, inherited coin albums, and jars of spare change hoping to uncover a rare variety or important error. Imagine finding a worn 1966 quarter among a group of ordinary coins. At first, nothing seems unusual. Then a closer inspection reveals a striking anomaly, an uncommon variety, or a feature that sets it apart from the rest. Suddenly, a common coin becomes a much more intriguing discovery. Now let's discuss value. Most circulated 1966 Washington quarters remain common and are worth only modest amounts above face value. However, rare varieties, significant mint errors, and outstanding collector quality examples can tell a very different story. Over the years, certain exceptional specimens connected to this date have attracted intense interest from advanced collectors. When highly desirable examples appear at auction, strong competition can drive prices to remarkable levels. In some cases, outstanding collector examples associated with the 1966 Washington quarter have sold for more than $322,000. Results like these demonstrate how rarity, condition, and historical significance can dramatically influence a coin's value. It's an incredible reminder that an ordinary-looking quarter can sometimes become one of the most exciting finds in a collection. And that's why collectors continue searching through old coins today. Hidden treasures don't always stand out at first glance. Sometimes they look exactly like the quarters people pass by every day. Now let's move on to the third coin, where the story becomes even more surprising. Now let's move on to the third coin on our countdown. At first glance, this 1967 Washington quarter may not appear particularly special. Like countless other quarters from the era, it spent years circulating through stores, restaurants, banks, and everyday transactions across the United States. The example we're discussing today shows normal signs of wear, with softened details and surface marks that reflect decades of use. To most people, it's simply another old quarter. But collectors often know that coins from this period deserve a closer look. The 1967 Washington quarter comes from a unique period in American coinage history. During the mid-1960s, the United States Mint was still dealing with a nationwide coin shortage. Demand for circulating coinage remained high, and production facilities were working around the clock to keep enough coins available for commerce. To help reduce coin hoarding, the Mint continued its temporary policy of removing mint marks from circulating coins. As a result, standard 1967 quarters were produced without mint identifiers, making them part of a distinctive chapter in U.S. coin production. When these coins first entered circulation, they were treated no differently than any other quarter. Millions were spent, exchanged, and carried in pockets throughout the country. Few people imagined that decades later, collectors would be examining the same coins in search of rare varieties and unusual minting errors. The obverse features the familiar portrait of George Washington, a design that had already become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. Even on circulated examples, Washington's profile remains easy to identify. On the reverse is the classic eagle design, showing the bird with outstretched wings above olive branches and arrows. This iconic artwork remained a favorite among collectors for generations and continues to be appreciated today. While millions of 1967 quarters were produced, not every surviving example is identical. This is where collector interest begins to grow. Many enthusiasts enjoy comparing circulated and uncirculated examples. A coin that remained untouched for decades may still display strong luster and sharp details, while a circulated example tells a completely different story. Every mark, worn edge, and faded detail reflects years of real-world use. For many collectors, that history adds character to the coin. The real excitement begins when unusual varieties and mint errors enter the picture. Collectors carefully inspect 1967 quarters for doubled dies, die cracks, die chips, strike-through errors, off-center strikes, and other production anomalies. Even a small difference from a normal coin can attract significant attention within the hobby. Doubled die varieties remain especially popular. These occur when elements of the design appear doubled due to the die creation process. Strong examples are much scarcer than ordinary quarters and often generate substantial collector interest. Die cracks and die chips are also closely studied. These features develop as minting dies wear over time and can create raised lines or unusual design elements on the finished coin. Because each die deteriorates differently, no two examples are exactly alike. Off-center strikes continue to rank among the most visually dramatic mint errors. These occur when a coin blank is improperly positioned during striking, leaving part of the design missing from the finished piece. Error collectors often compete aggressively for examples with strong visual appeal. Strike-through errors are another fascinating category. When foreign material becomes trapped between the die and the coin during production, unusual textures or missing design elements can appear. These distinctive characteristics make such coins stand out immediately from ordinary examples. Part of what makes coin collecting so exciting is the possibility that important discoveries remain hidden in plain sight. Every year, collectors search through inherited collections, estate sales, old albums, and forgotten jars of change hoping to uncover something unusual. Imagine sorting through a group of old quarters and noticing one coin that seems slightly different. Perhaps the lettering appears unusual, a design element looks doubled, or a striking anomaly catches your attention. That single moment of curiosity could lead to a remarkable discovery. Many valuable finds begin exactly that way. Now let's discuss value. Most circulated 1967 Washington quarters remain common and generally carry only modest collector premiums. However, the situation changes dramatically when rare varieties, significant minting errors, or exceptional collector quality examples are involved. Over time, certain 1967 quarters with highly desirable characteristics have attracted strong interest whenever they appear on the market. As demand increases and the supply of notable examples remains limited, competition among collectors can become intense. Rare doubled dies, dramatic off-center strikes, and important certified error coins have all contributed to the growing reputation of this date among specialists. Collectors appreciate these coins not only for their rarity but also for their connection to a fascinating period in American mint history. In fact, some extraordinary collector specimens associated with the 1967 Washington quarter have sold for more than $413,000. Results like these demonstrate how a coin that appears completely ordinary can sometimes become one of the most valuable pieces in a collection. It's a powerful reminder that the true value of a coin is not always obvious at first glance. That's why collectors continue examining old quarters year after year. Somewhere inside an overlooked collection, forgotten coin album, or dusty coin jar, another remarkable discovery could still be waiting. And believe it or not, the final coin in today's countdown has an even more surprising story. Certain examples connected to that date have stunned collectors and achieved values that few people would ever expect from an ordinary-looking quarter. Now let's move on to the final coin on our list. This last quarter may be the most surprising of them all. At first glance, it looks like a heavily circulated coin that has spent decades moving through everyday transactions. Many examples show worn details, surface marks, and discoloration caused by years of handling and exposure to different environments. Because of that appearance, most people would never imagine that certain 1968 Washington quarters have become highly sought after by collectors. Yet appearances can be deceiving. The 1968 Washington quarter was produced during an important period in modern American coinage. By this time, the transition from silver quarters to copper-nickel-clad coinage had already taken place, and the United States Mint was continuing to produce large numbers of quarters for circulation across the country. One notable change occurred during this year. Mint marks returned to circulating coinage after being temporarily suspended during the coin shortage years of the mid-1960s. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in modern U.S. coin production and remains one reason collectors pay close attention to quarters from this era. When these coins first entered circulation, they were simply everyday money. Millions were spent in stores, restaurants, banks, movie theaters, and businesses throughout the United States. Few people gave them a second thought, and even fewer imagined they would one day become objects of collector interest. The design remained familiar to Americans. The obverse features George Washington, whose portrait had appeared on quarters for decades. Even heavily circulated examples still display the classic image that has become one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. The reverse carries the traditional eagle design, with a bird standing proudly above olive branches and arrows. This artwork remained a defining feature of Washington quarters for generations and continues to be admired by collectors today. The example in today's story shows clear signs of circulation. Years of use have softened many of the finer details, while changes in color across the surface reflect the coin's long journey through everyday commerce. To some people, those color changes may seem unattractive. Collectors often see them differently. Many enthusiasts appreciate coins that show evidence of age and use because they tell a story. Every worn area, every mark, and every change in appearance reflects decades of history. A circulated coin provides a direct connection to the past that cannot be duplicated. Of course, condition alone does not determine value. What truly captures collector attention are unusual varieties and minting errors. Collectors frequently examine 1968 quarters under magnification, searching for doubled dies, repunched mint marks, die cracks, die chips, strike-through errors, off-center strikes, and other production anomalies. These features can transform an otherwise common coin into a highly desirable collectible. Doubled dies remain among the most popular discoveries. When portions of the design appear doubled, Collectors immediately take notice because such varieties are significantly scarcer than ordinary examples. Die cracks and die chips are also closely studied. These minting characteristics develop as dies wear over time and often create distinctive raised features on the finished coin. Because every die ages differently, each example can possess unique characteristics. Off-center strikes continue to attract strong interest from error collectors. These dramatic mistakes occur when a coin blank is not properly positioned during striking, causing part of the design to be missing from the finished coin. Strike-through errors are equally fascinating. When foreign material becomes trapped between the die and the coin during production, unusual textures or missing details can appear. Such pieces often stand out immediately from normal quarters. Collectors also search for clipped planchet errors which occur before the coin is struck. These errors leave a visible section missing from the edge of the coin and create an appearance that is easy to recognize. Part of the excitement of coin collecting comes from the possibility that important discoveries remain hidden in ordinary places. Old collections, inherited albums, estate sales, and forgotten jars of change continue to produce unexpected finds every year. Imagine sorting through a family coin collection and noticing one heavily circulated 1968 quarter that looks slightly different from the rest. A closer examination reveals an unusual feature, a striking anomaly, or a rare variety that had gone unnoticed for decades. Suddenly, an ordinary quarter becomes the center of attention. Stories like that are one reason the hobby continues to attract collectors around the world. Now let's talk about value. Most circulated 1968 Washington quarters remain common and are generally worth only modest amounts above face value. However, rare varieties, major minting errors, and exceptional collector-grade examples belong in a completely different category. As collector demand has grown over the years, certain outstanding examples connected to this date have generated intense interest whenever they appear on the market. Competition among advanced collectors can become fierce when truly scarce pieces become available. Rare double dies, significant striking errors, and elite certified specimens have all helped establish the reputation of this date among Washington quarter specialists. In fact, some extraordinary collector examples associated with the 1968 Washington quarter have achieved prices exceeding $635,000. Results like these demonstrate how rarity, condition, and collector demand can transform a seemingly ordinary coin into an incredible numismatic treasure. It's a powerful reminder that the true importance of a coin is not always obvious at first glance. After exploring the Washington quarters of 1965, 1966, 1967, and 1968, one lesson becomes clear. Small details can make an enormous difference. What appears to be an ordinary quarter today could contain a feature that collectors find highly desirable. Before searching through your own coins, remember one important rule: never clean them. Cleaning can damage original surfaces and often reduces collector appeal. Instead, store coins properly and examine them carefully for unusual characteristics. If you believe you've discovered a rare variety or significant error, professional authentication and grading can help determine its authenticity and collector value. The next remarkable discovery may not be sitting in a museum or a famous collection. It could be hiding in a forgotten drawer, an old coin album, or a jar of spare change waiting for someone to take a closer look. And that's what makes coin collecting such a fascinating hobby. Every coin has a story, and sometimes that story turns out to be far more valuable than anyone expected.